live. Let's do it live. Let's do it live. All right, and there we go. See if we're on. See my teeth? Looking good. Pearly yellows. All right, hey, Annette. Annette comes with some great info, by the way, about the great state of Alabama, which I will get to here in just a second. Let's just see. We're not up on Rumble yet. Rumble is it's a wacko bird. We got Tom from PA in the house. Right, where Pennsylvania are you, Tom? What part of PA are you in? Still not on Rumble yet. All right. There we go. All right, cool. Good. So we're going to start. Actually, I want to share with you. This is funny. So we're going to go to my locals channel. If you're not on my locals, well, you're just wrong. We got Chicken Charlie in the house, right on. So why isn't Rumble up? Yeah, I don't know, Denise. Yeah, it's up. It's up now. It's up now. Denise brings near New York border, right? Yeah, it looks like it's up right now, Denise. Denise brings kudos on my man J-O, J-A-E-O-H, J-O, on Maximize Your Medicare. Denise had a good chat with him. We got Hans. So she recommends J-O. And I just emailed Denise back, said, I wish I could remember his website. I can't remember his website to save my life. So Denise, if you know his website, you want to put it in the notes here, that'd be great, because I can't remember it. Some crazy website, GP3 something. Scott's working from home today. Come on, what are you actually doing, man? Look at Broken Arrow. Right on. He just quit his crap old job. What are you going to do, brother? That's fantastic. Let's say quick prayers, man. Oh, Heavenly Father, we just thank you for people, Broken Arrow, leaving for better pastures. Guide him in his new adventure in life. Guide us all as we partake in this insanity. As we move away from you, you're the only magnet we need to hold on to, because you're it. And the further we move away from you, the more the world gets insane. Just bring us back, Lord. Bring us back. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Good day, says Carl. We got San Francisco in the house. Maximize your Medicare, but right on. Peoria. Hey, all right, Todd. Todd, you asked me, what did you ask me? You sent me an email. I was going to do a video on it, and I deleted the email, and I forgot what it was. I can't remember now. Todd, if you remember that email, I was going to do a video on it as part of my. I usually keep a list of Q&A, and I'm not that organized, so I usually move over to Q&A, and then I delete the email. And this time, I deleted the email before I moved over to Q&A. Good. Utah in the house. Plan to go to the Masters practice on Augusta. Yeah, man, right on. Burlington, PA. Never heard of it? There's Sean. All right, so we got to live free from Utah, right on. So I got to share this with you. This is funny. So this is my locals channel. And every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, we do a live stream. You got to be a member, so you got to sign up. And what you'll see is this where I post my some stuff here. But this one right here, this is classic. Some of you guys are going to be offended.
Hey, Sandy, I have some questions about the moon landing. What, are you some kind of idiot? I'm going to eat my grain. You know how many people have to be in on it? You're just jealous because we beat the Russians with grit. Of course you can make a phone call from the moon. I don't know, though. How'd they make a phone call from the moon with no electricity or radio towers through 240,000 miles of vacuum in the Van Allen radiation belt? And then they destroyed all the evidence they went because they said they had a budgetary problem. And they had to tape over the telemetry data. That's literally what they said. And then they destroyed all the tech that got them there. And they said that there's not enough interest in going to the moon, so just why go back? Hey, you sound like one of those retards. Don't you know anything? I'm just eating my grain. We went to the moon. I used to think you were a funny comedian, but now you're an embarrassment. Unlike Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw lost his eye in Iraq while you were sleeping in your bed, nerd. Don't you know? Lindsey Graham. Oh, how dare you? Don't you know? We went to the moon to beat terror.
Oh my goodness.
COVID-19. How dare you? How many people would have to be in on it? We some kind of conspiracy theorist? I feel bad for your wife and kids. You sound unstable. You can't make a phone call from the moon in 1969. That picture from Nixon's office, that was from Apollo 8. They did really high level aperture and photography in a vacuum at negative 200 degrees Celsius without any people. Because that makes total sense unless you're a commie. I'm a baby boomer. Hey, Sandy, you're being very mean right now. I provide for you all this great. Yeah, you took my milk and got a grit.
Sandy
Hey, Sandy.
Oh my goodness. Sandy the cow is the best character ever. Oh, that makes me laugh so hard. Defending the moon landing. Oh my good. Exactly. Oh man. That's Owen Benjamin, by the way. And he's got another cow named Dandy. It's the funniest thing ever because anytime he comes out, Dandy will come. It's so funny. I don't live on a farm. No desire to live on a farm. I'm too lazy for that. But Dandy will, anytime one comes out, Dandy will just come. It is like the cutest thing you've ever seen in the world. And then Owen will just start milking them. Oh my goodness. It is so funny. He's got these goats. He says the goats are the epitome of our current culture. We feed them student loans and pornography and alcohol, and they come running student loans, pornography, and alcohol, and then they start getting. Then we literally, so you have to put them in this little like one of those little things where you go like this. You put the goat in there so he can't move his head back, so you can milk him. So you feed him the grain, and we say, "Look, this is how we get you guys with pornography, alcohol, and whatever I said, whatever student loans." And then we're going to get you in like that. And we're going to milk you for all you're worth, all of your humanity. It's so funny, man. And then you got these white goats and black goats. And oh my goodness. Who would have thought there'd be so much comedy on a farm? It is classic. Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah, that's what it was. Tom said, Todd said, is there a rule is there an IRS process that needs to be followed? No. I mean, you just got to be over 55 years old and have the money still at your employer, if that makes sense. I said, IRS doesn't care. Remember, the IRS doesn't care until they audit you anyway. I mean, they literally. People always say, "What if I do that?" I said, well, take up the IRS if they audit you, as long as it's legit and as long as you have a reason to do what you're doing that's legit. And the Rule 55 is 100% legit. But if you get audited, you're gonna have to prove, hey, this is what I did, and as long as you prove it, no big deal. I mean, it sucks to be. I've never been audited. My mom used to be in front of people, represented people are audited. She goes, IRS is always reasonable. Maybe it's because she was in Maine. I don't know. But if you act a fool, you're not going to get. They're not going to take kindly to you. That's a fact. I had my friend here, Jamie, who's a CPA. She was audited, and I can't imagine Jamie ever doing anything wrong. But she goes, "A pain in the ass. Don't get audited. Thus, give this Caesar what Caesar." Speaking of which, I want to share with us. This is interesting. Speaking of the moon landing, check this out. This is from Jeremiah. Just read this today. Check this out. Crazy. This is from Jeremiah 31:37. This is what the Lord says. Only if the heavens above can be measured and the foundations of the earth below can be searched out, will I reject all the descendants of Israel because of all they have done? Whoa. Only if the heavens above can be measured and the foundations of the earth below can be searched out, will I reject all the descendants of Israel. Remember, Israel is a people, right? Not a freaking geographic location, because of all they have done. So, tell me again why Stephen Hawking and all these guys and these actors, Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson, and Stephen Hawking was an actor too, why they're so adamant on having us explore the heavens. Because it takes us away from, God says right there in Jeremiah, dude. Jeremiah's crazy. Was Jeremiah 500 BC, something like that? I think think Isaiah was 600 BC and Jeremiah was 500 BC. And Ezekiel's next. I haven't read Ezekiel, so that's coming next. And Ezekiel is about the same time as Jeremiah, actually. It's pretty interesting. But anyway, tell me that's not kind of creepy. God saying, hey, man, look here. You're going to pretend like you know my creation, you fools. And that's why we're going to sit there and say, look, Hubble space. We got the Hubble camera. And Hubble, of course, said the horror of the geocentric model, i.e., the idea, the horrific nature that the universe could revolve around us here on Earth. Yeah, no, I'm not saying trust the IRS. I'm just saying at the end of the day, they rule, and as such, if once you're audited, just make sure your stuff's in order for sure. Anyway, I always look back at these, with Jeremiah, Isaiah, and again, will be Lamentations next, and Ezekiel. And Ezekiel comes literally the same time as Jeremiah. And you're just wondering, why do we get so far away from having to keep our word to God in terms of we have to have performance, essentially? I mean, it says it right here. Again, going back to Jeremiah. I will. So a lot of people, well, here, I'll just read it. I will put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts. I will be their God and they will be my people. No longer will a man teach his neighbor or a man his brother, saying, know thy Lord, because they will all know me, from the least of them to the greatest. From the least of them to that goes back kind of Paul. Hey, Rebecca. Paul talks about that, but I'm not a big fan of Paul anymore. But anyway, God says there ain't no excuse, man. There ain't no excuse. That's all there is to it. So check this out. Your eyes will be open to all the ways of men. You reward everyone according to his conduct as his deeds deserve. Ooh, that's Jeremiah speaking of God, because God has chosen Jeremiah as his prophet. And we got tons of false prophets at the same time, by the way. And Jeremiah wasn't one. And Jeremiah says, God, your eyes are open to all the ways of men. You reward everyone according to his conduct as his deeds deserve. Yikes. Are you living in sin, as we all are, but under the idea of faith alone? I mean, because you go to Revelations, and you're going to have lots of stuff that Jesus says that doesn't make me want to believe of faith. Look, this is Revelation. That's all Jesus here, man. Revelations opens your eyes, man. You start saying, whoa, am I living a truly godly and righteous life? Which is why I'm so, by the way, just real quick on my local page, I can post stuff there I can't post here. So locals like this guy right here, I can't say this, obviously. I'll just let you read it. You can read that because you can't say that. And then we're doing this now. This guy's sisters are fired from their jobs because of, supposedly the actions this guy did. What the hell is that? You're going to hold the sisters accountable? Get nuts. This one right here was interesting to me. Actually, I 100% agree with what this guy says. But my issue with that is, wait a second. The rainbow flag isn't yours to begin with. We Christians never abandoned the rainbow, so how about you get your crap off my rainbow? You know what I'm saying? When did we say you can take our flag? Well, just because we've been so suckered into that Christians are tolerant. We got to be tolerant of everything. Right on. High hedge farm. It's like, no, Christian tolerance is not a Christian value, man. Just open the book. And now, look, we can argue all day long about the truth of I mean, we can argue this to our blue in the face. That's fine. It's fine. I got issues. I got issues with KJV. What I'm saying, I got issues with NIV. I got issues with the Catholic Bible. What I'm saying. But at the end of the day, I believe in Jesus. I believe Jesus died on the cross and it was resurrected to open up the gates of heaven for us, without question. Without question. And because I believe in Jesus, I think what Jesus says is kind of sacrosanct, actually. Point being is we never volunteered to give away the rainbow flag to people engaging in activities that we would not, just 20 years ago, we didn't look kindly on. What the hell's happened? It's this need to be tolerant. And I fell for it. I interviewed Paula Bolliard about 2 or 3 years ago. And this is back in, I was like, well, people just want to get married and have Social Security benefits and all that stuff. And I remember we had a, not say argument, but not even a debate, just we kind of, it was, she was adamantly disagreeing with me that it was more than that. And we should have listened to Scalia, man. We should have, but we didn't because we want to be tolerant, we want to be liked, and all that stuff. And yeah, it's funny because Jeremiah, I mean, Jeremiah wasn't liked. I tell you that right now. You see what I'm saying? He didn't go along with the consensus. All right, so then I want to go into, let's see here. Hey, we got Stevie in Rumble. Right on, Stevie Weevy in Rumble. All right, cool. Hey, we got some people at Rumble. I still think Rumble is, I don't know, man. There's something not right with Rumble. I don't know. Yeah, they want even more tolerance. Exactly. They want us to bow down before them, be tolerant while they're freaking slicing the back of our necks. Just be tolerant of our lifestyle choices. Shoops, the guillotine comes down. We all know this. All right. So I want to share with you why I'm thinking that we're going to have low returns. All right. So we want to go down here. So we're going to start here, right here. Shining light on science education's dark age. All right. So the science teacher's bureaucracy is driving climate education into unquestioning adherence to unscientific methodology. The cost will be measured in students without facility for the more than 400-year-old scientific method and lacking the critical thinking necessary for sustaining civilization and advanced humankind. 100%. So they're concerned, this group of naysayers who don't tread the common line, their concerns spiked to alarm with the publication of the Teaching of Climate Science, a position paper of the 40,000-member National Science Teaching Association that advocates teachers conform to consensus opinion that man-made emissions of carbon dioxide will cause dangerous overheating of the earth. Possibly even worse than the promotion of consensus was their endorsement of censorship of any scientific information that deviates from the consensus groupthink. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. The review found that the National NSTA's position statement on climate change promotes the education of students through indoctrination instead of critical thinking skills. Yep, and the scientific method. But we're going to be tolerant of that because we got to be tolerant. If it's consensus, it's not science, says Michael Crichton. And then we go to this guy's crushing guys, Muslim guy. Science, as an Islamic mathematician and empiricist, Al Haytham, could have said, the seeker after truth does not put his faith in any consensus. What is so, man. The seeker after truth does not put his faith in any consensus, however venerable or widespread. Instead, he questions what he has learned of it, applying to it his hard-won scientific knowledge, and he inspects and inquires and investigates and checks and checks and checks again. The road to the truth is long and hard, not as lonely, but that is the road we must follow. Of course, Richard Feynman said, we compare the results of a theory's computation to nature. Compare it directly with observations to see if it works. If it disagrees with experiment, it is wrong. It's that simple. I would rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned. 100%. All right, so let's get rid of that one. And what does that have to do with this? Well, keep hanging in there, dudes. Hang in there. Because we're going to run some serious modeling here in just a second. Innovation in science is on the decline, and we're not sure why. This is from sciencealert.com. I wonder why. Well, they're going to say because of lack of funding, which is just freaking stupid. And that person is stupid. All these people are dumb. It's just dumb. But anyway, the rate of groundbreaking scientific discoveries and technological innovation is slowing down despite an ever-growing amount of knowledge. Knowledge, not wisdom. According to an analysis released Wednesday of millions of research papers and patents. While previous research has shown downturns in individual disciplines, the study is the first that emphatically, convincingly documents this decline of disruptiveness across all major fields of science and technology. Yep, Michael Park. Yep. The research gave it, whatever, we'll see. One theory of the decline is that the low-hanging fruit of science has already been plucked. That's just like they used to say in the 1890s about all the good patents have already been found, is what the patent officer here in the United States said. No, obviously that's wrong. But if that were true, the declines are pretty consistent in their speeds and timing across all major fields, not just a couple. The burden of research would suggest there's now so much that science must learn to master a particular field. They have little time left to push boundaries. All right, be as may. The level of ineptitude on the science educators is growing by leaps and bounds, which inherently, because they can't challenge consensus. Look, you should see some of the hate I got on our challenging of Einstein. You're an idiot. I'm like, okay, I love that. That means I'm doing something right. It's nuts, dude. You're like, holy crap. My man Prairie Mark goes, you might have read a book, Josh, but you don't know more than all the other people who have been studying this their career. I was like, Prairie Mark, do you think that the guy me reading a book is not, who's this guy right here? That's the guy who spent a career on all this stuff. And I'm reading what he said. I mean, it's crazy. And there's tons of people just like that. It's just because you're reading a book that freaking people who are a lot more smarter and knowledgeable this stuff has written. And we have Ron Hatch. We got freaking Peter, what's the guy's name again? Tom Bethel, Peter Beckman, on top of Alfonso Kelly, on top of just, the guy who founded the atomic clock, Louis Edison, I think. The stacking so high of anti-Einsteinians is insanity. And yet, my man Prairie Mark, who I like, we disagree often. But, I imagine if I was a drinking guy, I'd be drinking beers with him. But he's like, oh, you just read a book. Yeah, all these other guys spent a career. They spent a career being brainwashed. How do people not see this? It's like, oh, they work at the NIH. They know more than you. They know more than me because they've been brainwashed. Crazy. All right, so let's keep going here because I want to share with you. So it's going to come down. So I'm painting a picture here of why this is going to get ugly. All right, so let's go to this. And you're going to have to expect lower rates of return and lower standard of living. Epic time. Wind power fails on every account. Oxford scientist explains the math. Oh, look at that. It's weird how they get smaller as they go into away from us. They get lower and they get smaller. Called perception, people, perception. Look how small that one is. Look how big this one is. Yeah, they were built that way. They're built to be way small and way high. You got to know perception to know your reality. I'm telling you, it's nuts. Once you start getting a gauge of how perception works, I wish I could draw. I'd love to be able to draw. Like these artists, they can draw the visuals in terms of I can't remember there's a word I'm looking for in the visual for artists have. I forgot. But anyway, a wind farm outside Palm Springs, California on May 26, 2018. Wind power has been historically and scientifically unreliable, says a mathematician and physicist at Oxford. His calculations revealing the government to be pursuing a bluster of wind farm politics while discarding numerical evidence. After the decision to cut down on fossil fuels was made, the instinctive reaction around the world was to embrace renewables, says Professor Emeritus Wade Allison. And he's also at CERN. Oh, my goodness. Allison noted that because solar power is extremely weak, it was inadequate to sustain even a small global population with an acceptable standard of living before the Industrial Revolution, before electricity. Today, modern technology is deployed to harvest those weak sources of energy. Vast farms that monopolize the natural environment are built to the detriment of other creatures. Exactly. Developments are made regardless of the damage wrought. Hydroelectric schemes, enormous turbines, and square miles of solar panels are constructed despite being unreliable and ineffective, and of course unnecessary when you have this thing called uranium. In particular, the generation of electricity by wind tells a disappointing story. The political enthusiasm and the investor hype are not supported by the evidence, even for offshore wind, which can be deployed out of sight. The infamous "not in my backyard." But check this out. So because I've been talking about this for years. It's insane. People, basically, solar wind panel will give you 3 to 4 watts per meter square. That's it. 3 to 4 watts per meter square. Might be 6 now, but that's not. 6 watts, dude. This LED light I'm using right now is 15 watts. That's it. So here's 15 watts. 15 watts right now. So for every meter square of a freaking insanity, bird killing, horrible, deafening wind turbine, you're getting 6 watts per meter square. Oh, but that's not true, Josh. Because this guy, our man, the good guy here, he calculated that at 100% efficiency. If the wind blows at 10 meters per second, at 100% efficiency, if the wind blows at 22 miles an hour, the power is 600 watts per square meter. See, Josh, you're wrong. You're wrong. Even your guy proves it, 600 watts per square meter. hence to deliver 3,200 million watts, the same output as a zero carbon nuclear power station in England, there would need to be 5.5 million square meters of turbine swept area. All right. So we need 5.5 million square meters of wind turbines, and we have to have 100% efficiency, and we have to have the wind blowing continuously at 22 miles per hour. We get 600 watts per square meter. That would be quite acceptable. Unacceptable to those who care about birds and other environmentalists, you would think. The actual performance, though, is much worse because the power carried by the wind depends on the third power of wind speed. If the wind drops to half speed, the power available drops by a factor of 8. You think? Almost worse. If the wind speed doubles, the power delivered goes up 8 times. And as a result, the turbine has to be turned on and off for its own protection. You know, the fluctuations are considerable, as he pointed to a Wind Europe report that showed the installed nominal generating capacity of the EU on a daily basis of 236 gigawatts. All right, so that's the capacity. The nameplate capacity, 236 gigawatts. However, the highest output ever registered was 103 gigawatts on March 26th. So it's like the nameplate capacity is what everyone sells you on how beneficial it's going to be. 236 gigawatts of power. The max we've ever had at any moment in time was well below half that at any given time for a moment. Not sustainable. The unreliability extends to offshore wind farms as well. Batteries used to store power are severely restricted by current technology. With general energy shortages, a war in Europe, high prices, and likelihood of failures in electricity supply, many popular scientific presumptions underlying energy policy will be questioned. Wind power fails on every count. Yep. It's just as nuts. All right, so let's keep going, and then we'll show you one that gets even worse. The hits just keep on coming. All right, right here. A breakthrough. A big utility says net zero may actually not be reliable. This is Dominion Resources. Finally they're pulling their head out of the butt. But I didn't even know this. Virginia, and stupid Virginia, where I thought about maybe moving to. They had this Virginia Clean Economy Act, which operates under net zero by 2045. By 2045, the Virginia Clean Energy Act requires Dominion Resources to shut down all gas, oil, and coal-fired power by 2045. That's in 22 years. All right, we just proved that wind can't do it. Solar's better efficiency than wind, but it's not just it's just freaking stupid, dude. It ain't happening. It's not happening. It's never gonna happen. But the batteries, dude. If anyone here says batteries again on this, I'm banning it for life. Because we've been hearing this literally, and I showed the last live stream since Thomas Edison back 125, 30 years ago. And it's always the same thing. And it's always, they're just around the corner, Josh. The Virginia Clean Economy Act cannot be done. Now Dominion has met me halfway saying their new integrated resource plan that maybe it cannot be done. So at least they're saying maybe it can't be. Plan D results in the company purchasing 5,000 megawatts of capacity in 2045 and beyond, raising concerns about system reliability and energy independence, including over-reliance on out-of-state capacity to meet customer needs. Over time, as more renewable energy and energy storage resources are added to the system, the company will learn if it can be reliable, and it won't be. To begin with, note that they hope to buy a whopping 5,000 megawatts of electricity when things get tight with the renewables they're forced to use. This is truly funny because in 2021, they specifically said buying juice was a bad plan because every nearby utility is planning on doing the same thing. Who are you going to buy it from? It gets worse. As I reported, Dominion's plans have nowhere near the battery storage required to make the planned renewables reliable. It's a standard trick of reporting battery storage in megawatts, which is designed to make batteries look like generators. Megawatts is actually the discharge capacity, not the storage capacity. Imagine buying orange juice this way. Tropicana has twice as big as a spout as Minute Maid, but that is now what you're buying. You buy the juice, not the pour speed. So Plan B has roughly 27,000 megawatts of solar, but just 9,000 megawatts of storage. Assuming standard 4-hour batteries, this gives just 36,000 megawatt hours of storage capacity. That stores the solar for just over 1.3 hours, which doesn't come close to getting you through the night. Cloudy days, forget it. Keep in mind that big utilities are making a fortune off the bogus net zero game. They make a guaranteed profit on every approved dollar they spend on renewables that do not work. The big utilities have zero incentive for blowing the whistle on net zero, but at least Dominion said it might not work, right? Because it's not going to work. So what's happening is we have no more, we're not, the whole freaking thing is nuts. Al James, you want to get banned? Retiring in a low investment world? You want to get banned, Al James, on Rumble? So we have, I don't know who Dave Wash is. I don't know what the that's good stuff, man. I really work at nameplate capacity. That's right. That's exactly it, Richard. A house of flipping cards. And so what happens when it falls apart? All right, so let's look at my man Daniel Kuhlbert's stuff here. Because I love this. Monte Carlo. So this is Daniel Kuhlbert, 55e.co, 55e.co. And you can get your own stuff. And I'll show you 55e.co. And I don't know what he charges anymore. I haven't emailed him for a couple months now. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to run a basic model. And this can you all see? Yeah, sweet. I'm not sure who Dave Walsh is. Todd, the thing about American funds is they're gone pretty much woke too. That's the drawback. Yeah, exactly, Tom. College was too busy pushing their agendas. No surprise tech is fading. Being a victim is 100%. Dude. And it's not, we're not recovering from this, dude. It's not, well, Reagan did. Yeah, Reagan did. Reagan with Maggie Thatcher and John Paul II. Who do we got now? Literally, who do we got now? Who's going to replace England? They're lost. The Pope is a freaking fool. You know what I'm saying? It's like the only people left are the Chinese and the Russians who have any kind of sense of morality anymore, it seems like. I have my man Michael Edison, who I love. Michael Edison. He's a mathematician. He has sent me an article kind of off the cuff outside of the realms of stuff I read about how China has been victimized. People are saying China is not free relative to what we think we are in the United States, and talk about the FBI surveillance, the CIA surveillance. That I did a video earlier today about the ATF. How about when freaking Bubba Wallace, with that stupid news thing, we sent 15 FBI agents down there, but not a damn one on the trans J of, whatever the thing is on April Fool's Day, the trans day of, I can't say it because I'll probably be banned. No one investigates that. They got pictures all over the place of trans people. Even the freaking press secretary of the fake governor of Arizona, Katie Hobbs, shows a woman with two pistols saying, or two handguns saying, this is what we do to trans folks. On Twitter, I went by on Twitter, but nothing, and FBI has nothing on that. The press secretary for Katie Hobbs has a picture the same day as that person, I guess, be careful, that it killed those poor people in Tennessee. The same day, the press secretary in Arizona had a picture. This is what we do to transphobes, of some girl with handguns. And yet, remember they blamed Sarah Palin? It's falling apart, dude. There's no other way around it. And it has to. Inherently, it's got to. It's going to collapse. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. But it certainly doesn't mean 12% rates of return. It's insane to think that way. It doesn't mean it's going to fall apart like we're going to be living in freaking, I don't know, 70 AD Jerusalem, you know what I'm saying? Or it'll be shipped off to Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the lifestyle we're accustomed to is not going to be here because we are led by idiots. Did you hear? I was just reading this right now, actually. That's freaking just like, so here's Biden administration. We do not believe in natural immunity. What? Natural immunity used to be scientific. This is the top official in Biden's administration recently told Congress that natural immunity is not something we believe in. Gil Cisneros, I bet that's the brother of Henry Cisneros, who used to be a San Antonio mayor, who became just freaking clown show. He went to DC to make his bank. He's the undersecretary for defense in personnel and readiness, made the statement while arguing for vaccine mandates for a member of the military. He said, he continued by denying an inspector general's report that officials reviewed requests for religious exemptions for only 12 minutes before dismissing them. We don't know about natural immunity there as far as how it works or how effective it is, he says. There's no good evidence, and the research is still going on about natural immunity. This is insanity. It's not just Biden, dude. I mean, it is Biden. I mean, but these people, they're running the show now. And if you think Trump getting there is going to stop it, it's not. I mean, look, I want Trump. I'm hoping he wins, but it's not going to stop this. It's inevitable. And it doesn't mean like I said, we're going to be carried off to Babylon. It just means there's going to be a significant Japanese-like economy, man, which is low growth, low inflation. Well, hopefully low inflation if they get their freaking energy stuff squared away. With no energy stuff, I don't know anymore. With the price of energy going through the roof. But I think nuclear is coming, and I think the Democrats are finally on board with that. So I'm actually somewhat confident in that. But but the issue is if we don't have cheap energy, everything else falls apart. That's all there's to it. All right. So what we're doing here. So we're going back to. I'm going to show you something here. So this is what 55e.co. Welcome back to it. So we got all these things. We got CPI, which I've told you how much I don't like CPI, but we're going to use it because it is the number of inflation. You shouldn't use it for your own personal inflation, but it is what we're going to use in this case. We got Japanese inflation. We got the G fund, F fund for TSP. We got all this S&P 500, small back, just all this stuff. So what we do is we just went down here and I simply did a simple average inflation going back to 1871, and I did a standard deviation going back to 1871. So the average inflation is 2.12 since 1871, and standard deviation is 4.52. Japanese inflation was 2.9 with a standard deviation of 4. All right, so we take these numbers, we come over here, and we say, okay. So we start messing around with here. So we start saying, here's our inflation rate, 2.2 with a 4.5% standard deviation. All right, so now we're going to say we're going to look at any fund we want. So we'll start with the S&P 500, for instance, right there. And we're going to say the S&P 500 has an average rate of return of 12.78 and a standard deviation of 17.1. So we go to average rate of return, 12.78, standard deviation of 17.1. With an inflation rate of 2.2 and a standard deviation of 4.52. You need to do both of these, and it drives me crazy that financial advisors don't do that. We're taking we have $100,000 to start with. We're taking $4,000 a year out, and we're going to do it for 25 years. We'll run 1,000 simulations. What's our success rate in that regard? And you can see here, we ran out of money one time. All right, that's it, one time. With just 100% standard deviation, 100% S&P 500. This has nothing to do with historical rates of return. This is completely randomized, which is what you want to do, man. You want to do randomized because historical rates are it doesn't matter. Historical rates don't matter. If you want to start in the year 2000, that's not a bad idea. Inflation is low. Interest rates are low. We got smoked in 2000, 2001, and 2, and then again in 2007, 8, and 9. Kind of smoked in the third quarter of 2011. Kind of smoked in the second quarter of 2015. Close to a bear market in Q4 2018, a full bear market in Q1 of 2020, and then what happened last year. The last 23 years is a great place to look at because returns have been lower than average, and interest rates have been lower than average too. And I actually think the last 20 years are a wonderful strategy to kind of run this, and we'll do that here in just a second. But anyway, so that looks pretty good. You're like, all right, well, if I get the standard inflation rate and I get the standard deviation, i.e. volatility, and I get the average rate of return, and I get the standard deviation volatility, I'm looking pretty good. But I say you're crazy if you think you're going to get that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use the that was from 1989. Hold on a second. Let me do 1871. There we go. 10.99 to 18.5. There we go. So that's from 1989. We don't want to do that. 10.99 to 18.55. 18.5. All right. So now we're going over here. And same thing, we got 7% negative. We ran out of money 7% of the time. And again, this is no adjustment for spending, no tighten the belt or anything. So that's pretty good. What I want to do here, though, is I want to go to 2000. So let's go to 2000. And he doesn't have 2022 numbers up yet. So that's going to make this a little bit more optimistic than it was, and because we don't have 2022 up there. This is more like it. Average rate of return 9% with a standard deviation of 17.5. So that's starting to get more like it, and we're taking 4% a year out. So now we have a 10% failure rate, and that's still fine. What if we do 5,000? So you got to always do a negative sign here, 5,000, and here we're looking at, it's still pretty good. 77% of the time we have money left over after 25 years. That looks pretty good. Now, what if we go 30 years? Now it's at 29% of the time. I was working with this couple the other day, and they had the wife live until she's 95, and basically their numbers weren't great. Oh, okay. Well, Jeremy's here. Okay, late, dude. I'm gonna start charging you tardy slips, Jeremy, for every time you're late. Anyway, their numbers weren't. They're like, I don't know, 52% probability. I can't remember this, but it all came back in the 90s. So basically, if we had her live until 90 as opposed to 95, they were like 85% probability of success. Well, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was well within the desirability. Is the last 3 years, 92, 93, 94, is what crunched her. The last 3 years. And that's just like, are you really gonna, pigeonhole yourself to say, I'm not gonna retire because when I'm 93, 4, and 5, it looks like could be a chance I run out of money, and you're only 62 now, or I can't remember how old she was. I said, that doesn't make sense to me, man. It doesn't make sense. And we didn't have any big elaborate decline in spending. And of course, she had a house that was paid for too. And I was like, that seems odd to me. So when you look at these numbers, you always remember that when you run these Monte Carlos in terms of your own retirement planning scenario, you got to look at it like, when are you actually running out of money? If you're not actually running out of money at 87, but you are potentially at 93, is that enough to stay working in some crappy little job? I don't think so. I think it's nuts. But people do that. And I told him, I said, look, and we'll call her Annette. I can't remember her name. We'll say it because there's Annette right there. Hey, James in the house. I agree, Jill. I think he can. It's the most incredible. The most important point is energy independence. I'm not holding my breath though, because we'll see. I mean, I think he can. I'm just not sure it will happen. But I hope so. It's huge. Anyway, yes. Remind me later on. Oh, yeah, good question. Why these huge windmills don't have solar panels on support columns? I guess because you could have. I guess you could have some kind of. So here's the obelisks, whatever the hell it's called. There's CB. CB's in the Philippines with his better half. Hey, look at CB. All right, man. CB, you crush. I don't care what your wife says. CB's awesome. Retired military. Don't hold that against him. Lives in Michigan. Don't hold that against him. Oh, man. That's awesome. And I tell you, it makes me tear up thinking about my man hanging out in the Philippines with his better half and her crazy Filipino family. Filipina, whatever it is. I'm not sure. I'm just saying that, Jess. I don't know about her Filipino family. I love that, though. Exactly, Andrew. That's the issue. 100%. I completely agree. Anyway, so if you have the panel, let's just say this is the thing that the windmill's on, whatever that thing's called, the base, I guess. I guess you got some kind of ledger or some kind of, what the hell's the word I'm looking for? Thing right here. And you can have the panels kind of, because if they're sitting like this, they're going to be sitting like that, and the sun's up here, the sun's not going to shine on them, so you'd have to have them kind of going like this. Interesting. It won't matter, though. Just think about it. Every solar panels are 25% efficient at most, right? I mean, yes, you can get 30%. It's just silly. So 25% efficiency. All right. So if you have a meter square solar panel, you're getting what? At most 60 meters per square meter. That's it. 60 meters per square meter. 60 watts per square meter. Excuse me. That's nothing. Nothing. I mean, yes, it could power by 15-watt LED light. I grant you. You can run a couple of things, household things. Everyone says, why run my electric? I get it. From a household perspective, yes, that can work. We're talking an economy, man. I'm not my man Todd, of 330 million people. It can't work. It's so freaking dumb. How dare you say dumb? How dare you say dumb? It is dumb. And just because I say it's dumb doesn't mean the people who advocate this are dumb. I think they're either evil or they're ignorant. One of those two things. I think most of them are evil. All right, so let's keep going here because run 100% there. 100%. I could not agree more. Yeah. All right, so if Social Security and pension would cover all of our needs, would you leave other investments in S&P or downshift to Wellesley type fund? Yeah, I would go to a Wellesley type fund. And look, man, so let me address something real quick. I've had a number of emails like, why are you against Wellesley now or Wellington? I'm like, I'm not saying that, more saying, well, you know, what was it? What they're saying is, this guy said, and I'm not mad at it. I just like, dude, I maybe I've had my own epiphany. I don't want to be part of this guy. One sec. This guy said, right here. Oh, oh, oh. I guess I'll go find it. Anyway, he said they're all woke, dude. They're all woke. So I said, but there's strength in numbers, man. So he's basically saying all the corporations that you invest in are still woke. I said, you don't know that to be true, but we do know what to be true is that if you throw your money with Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, all that, they're going to vote what they want. They're going to vote your proxies based on what Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab want to do. And we know who runs Vanguard, not Vanguard, Abby Johnson, Fidelity. She's woke. We know who runs Schwab, whatever her friggin' Carrie Schwab, Pomegranate Schwab. She's woke. You know, I mean, these people are woke. Dude. That's all there is to it. And so they're going to vote their corporate proxies as they see fit. Vanguard seems to be stepping off the ledge a little bit. I'm actually happy. I'm not going to lie, happy. But Vanguard, they don't own Wellesley or Wellington. Wellington owns Wellington. And Vanguard just has this kind of affiliation with them. But they don't, Wellington still runs his own show. But let's just say you go to a company like Inspire and you say, I'm going to throw my money behind Inspire. All right, so here's Inspire, biblical inspired ETFs, which I freaking love, dude. And you say, okay, no, I'm going to throw my assets here. And now Inspire has, instead of $2 billion assets. That's nothing compared to Vanguard. I grant you, that's nothing compared to Vanguard. But I'm just curious, how many apostles did Jesus have? How many? How many people did Jesus appear to when he came back? So how many people did Jesus appear to roughly? There's a little bit more than X. Put it in the notes if you guys know. All right. Now Jesus, because he's son of the Lord, could appear to anyone he wanted. Anyone. He could appear to us right now. But he appeared to how many people in his resurrection? How many apostles were there? Who wants to? So just throw some numbers out there. What do we got? 500. Jesus appeared to just a few more than 500 people. That's it. Paul wasn't one. Just saying it out there. Jesus had 12 apostles. There's a great book. Oh, man, this guy's name, I want to say is Ron Coleman. Was it Ron Coleman? Oh, man, it wasn't Ron Coleman. It was Coleman. It's a guy named Coleman on I can't remember the name of that book. Anyway, the ministry, I forgot. 12, yeah, exactly. So 12. So Jesus had, it's Coleman. I'm going to draw a blank. What that book? I got to find this book. Hold on a second. Amazon. Every time I say this, it's like there's a reason why Jesus only, not Ron Coleman, the bodybuilder. Yeah, I'm not going to remember. Dagnabbit. Dag nabbit. Oh, it's going to drive me crazy. Hold on a second. I got it upstairs too. Anyway. Master plan. Robert Coleman. Robert Coleman. That's what it is. The master plan of about. Yes, Robert Coleman. There we go. Robert Coleman. Robert Coleman. Hold on a second. Robert Coleman. Master plan of evangelism. I'm going to show you guys. That's what it was. The master plan of evangelicism. Right here. Robert Coleman. Right here. The guy freaking. Yep. And so it's just fantastic. We'll just read the real quick. Master plan of evangelicism. For more than 40 years, this classic study has challenged and instructed more than 1.5 million readers in reaching the world with Christ. With Billy Graham, blah, blah, blah. Instead of drawing on the latest popular fad or newest selling technique, he looks at the Bible to find the answer to the question, what is Christ's strategy for evangelism? Anyway, such a good book, guys. Robert Coleman, that's what it is. The point being is we don't need to reach a huge amount of people. There's strength in numbers. I mean, just look at the Civil War, the Revolutionary War. You know, it's what 3% of the people actually engaged in anti-Brit activity. That's it. You know, 3%. That's all it takes. So going back to, instead of throwing your weight to American funds or Fidelity or anything, or Vanguard for that matter, you're saying no. I'm going to take positive action, affirmative action, to make sure that my voice is heard on these corporate, board of director meetings. And if I can hire a guy for 35 basis points, as is the Inspire ETFs do, or I can throw my weight behind the Ave Maria mutual funds, which are pretty well known because they've been around for a long, long time, or the Timothy plan or something like that. That gives me a little bit more say in the corporate management structure of what they're doing. But we've never done that because we've all been just alerting the maximum rates of return. And I don't think that's what we're supposed to do anymore. I think what we're supposed to do, I've had an epiphany. I'm not epiphany like Paul going to Damascus. There's an epiphany of such that says, I don't think I'm comfortable playing the game anymore, just hoping to get the best of my buck, recognizing it's God's money anyway. And God will make the returns, whatever God chooses to make the returns, whether or not I'm doing it in a moral way, which is not, taking sides, or in a moral way. God's going to do it as he sees fit. And as such, is like, who am I to say, well, the best rates of return going forward? I just don't feel comfortable with my dollars going to companies that are promoting agendas that are inherently anti-white, anti-Christian, anti-male, anti-female. If anything, is that 57 flavors. That's 100% anti-female. And I don't feel comfortable doing that. And if a company has my money and they're promoting, I mean, how do you get up there in front of the good Lord and say, hey, I know you gave us a biblical guidance in which to live, but I just wanted to maximize my returns. He said, oh, you thought you could maximize your returns better than I could? Well, God, I mean, we have to have a diversified portfolio. I mean, come on, God. I mean, I don't know what God's going to say, but I'm just sitting there thinking, I don't know if I feel comfortable with that. And I don't feel comfortable anymore. That's all there is to it. I don't. And so if that means I have to, quote, take it on the chin in order that I'm not going to be maximize my returns, well, do we actually believe God works, or do we actually not? I mean, I don't want to be one of these guys sitting like, there's a good cartoon I saw a couple years back. A flood was going through this guy's town. And the guy was on top of the roof. He had a sign, help, save me. And the guy was going by in a boat. I sound like I'm from Canada. And the guy says, come on in my boat. And he goes, no, I'm waiting for God. I don't want to be that guy either. I'm not sitting there thinking, I'm not saying God hasn't designed the index fund or anything like that. I'm just saying at the end of the day, I don't want any part of that crap anymore, is what I'm trying to say, with my dollars. And if I have to earn less with my dollars because I'm going on something that I feel is morally superior and the good, true, and beautiful of what God has designed for us, then so be it, man. You know what I'm saying? I have a sickness in my heart at seeing the society collapse, as I have 4 children, and I don't like it, and I know it's evil, and I don't want anything to do with it. And if that means I end up putting all my money in CDs or hell, I go Islamic and no usury, I have to bear the brunt of that later on. You know what I'm saying? But I don't like this, and I don't get why people are like, well, you could just just invest because I get it, you can do that. I have come to a crossroad in my life that doesn't work for me anymore, man. It doesn't, and I just can't do it. There's no other way around it, man. Yeah. So Steve is talking about Vivek Ramaswamy. Yeah. See, I don't like that guy already because he's their version of Egg McMuffin who ran against Trump in 2020. But he is talking about Strive. But I didn't like Strive. Someone sent me a thing on Strive. I wasn't all that fond of Strive. They weren't explicitly pro biblical than Inspire was. There's a MMA fighter, a UFC fighter. I don't know his name. Apparently, he's like champion. He's an Islamic guy. And he's just, dude. My reacquaintance with my Muslim brothers and sisters has made me very humbled in how much I recognize I was falling short of the path of this right here. You know what I'm saying? And seeing these guys that say, no, I don't invest in usury. I don't invest in interest. There's a lot to be learned by following look, there's tons of clown Muslims too. There's tons of clown Jews, tons of clown atheists, tons of clown Christians. We get that. But following those people who've been dedicated towards their faith is humbling, frankly. For someone like me, I said, man, I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just like, we don't get into it. Anyway, so at the end of the day, I guarantee Empower's woke, dude. Guarantee. And look, see, that's the issue. There's nothing there. I mean, look, man, we got to work. We got to make an income. So Michael, Empower is probably woke as can be. I can almost guarantee you they are. What are you going to do? You're going to quit your job because you don't want to put your 401k money in with Empower? No. But when you leave and you are empowered with your own money, you don't have to do that. And I'm not telling you, look, you might be okay. And I'm not saying Michael here. You all might find that the woke stuff is okay for you. That's like I had this lady on here. Let's see if I can find her. This is nuts. I was stunned this email or this comment she had. Hold on a second. Go studio. I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is crazy. Something went wrong. Hold on a sec. We'll go back to and so the point being is that might mean you have lower rates of return. So I'm going to come back to this in just a second. What does that mean? You have lower rates of return. How will that work in your retirement plan? Well, I'll show you because this is where it gets critical, man. Go to videos. Hold on just a second. Yeah, that freaking governor, stupid Arizona, Katie Hobbs, the idiot, and her freaking press secretary, she sucks, dude. And she should be sent to jail. That's all there is to it. For advocating violence against what she calls transphobes. I mean, who the hell are you? So we're going to show you right here. I think it's right here. Right here. Comments real quick. All right, so we're going to go to comments. And I'm going to show you what this lady said. Yeah, Amanda, exactly. I'm surprised that she was having Amanda. I mean, that's interesting. That's Muslim. I mean, I've got no qualm, but I'm just wondering how she ended up with that. That's interesting. So check this out. If I can share comments here. Oops, go to comments. And we're going to go to that right there. And we're going to see if we can find Jennifer. I was like, dude, this is nuts, man. What she said. Hold on just a second. Right here. There's this chick right here, but that's not the comment she has said. I was like, what? Where did the comment go? I might be looking wrong. Anyway, it's something about she went on here. Yeah, whatever. It's something about basically, so you're what'd she say? So you're okay with hating on people of different whatever, like because you're 57 flavors. I'm not hating on anybody. I want to protect the children. And that's what she said. Along these lines, like Jesus says, don't hate anybody. So you're okay with hating on 57 flavors and teaching hate and stuff like non-tolerance. I'm like, yes, I am okay with teaching non-tolerance. Yes, that's a fact. I'm not okay with teaching hate. I am 100% an advocate of protecting the children as what we should do because Jesus wanted us to do that. And she goes, well, Jesus never said protect it. What'd she say? Something like Jesus never said. I can't remember. I was like, huh? Jesus never said protect the children. I was like, I was like stunned. I was like, this is crazy. So her Christian world is not my Christian world. We are under different gods. That's just a fact. And different God. Hey, right on. No, look, man, I got no qualm with them either. This is where I've come. It's like where I used to fall for, Muslims. Now I was like, no, they're practicing righteous Muslims. I'm more aligned to them, these 57 flavors fools, or this Christian lady who says Jesus never said to protect the children. Or I'm like, I was like stunned. I was like, okay, we literally worship different gods. There's no other way around that. Her God is, she'll probably say, my God's at politics. I'll say her God's at politics, and we'll have to agree to disagree there. But my God is not at politics. And whatever, you know what I'm saying? I was stunned. I was like, man, you are so tolerant that you have no tolerance for anything other than your narrow viewpoint of the world is crazy. Anyway, so I want to go back. Oh, she resigned? She did? Oh, I hope she's in jail, man. I hope she's in jail. Because advocating friggin' shooting people because they're whatever transphobe is, yeah, you can't do that. How come that? Whatever. We can anyway. See, I 100%. All right. So I want to go back to. So here's what I'm advocating you guys do in your portfolio. You again do whatever you want to do. So we're going to look at a Ginny May. So let's do this. So let's look at Japan, and we're going to look at the Nikkei. Again, 55e.co is Daniel's Coolbert's. You can get all this. It's like $35 or something. That's incredibly cheap. Right. So we're going to start in 1989 in Japan, the Nikkei. Actually, we're going to start in 1990. Because this is when it all fell to poop right there. All right, so 1990 to 2021, the Nikkei averaged 1.55% a year. 1.55% a year with a standard deviation of 22.2. I don't think it's going to get that bad here, but that's literally what happens. So if we go here and we take out instead of 5,000 here, 4,000 here, and we're going to get a 1.55% rate of return, with a standard deviation of 22.2. Will we ever have any money left over? And the answer, of course, is no. We have even 18% of the time we still had money. That's funny. But anyway, we have no. We're doomed. That's what the inflation rate here. We're going to use the Japanese inflation rate starting in 1990. All right. Now, I don't think it's going to be this, but I'm going to show you something else I think we should use instead. 1990. There we go. All right, so watch this. Still loading. Yeah, we still had 25% of the time we had money left over. That's actually quite surprising. I would have thought it'd been worse. But anyways, that's with 4%. If we took 5%, obviously, and I always advocate 5%. You get a couple of bad years in a row, just tighten your belt. But anyway, 5% here. Oops. We ran out of money 84% of the time. That's pretty extreme. I don't think that's going to happen. But so now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the Japanese, their 10-year bond right there. All right, here we go. So here we got an average rate of return of 1.89 with a standard deviation of 1.8. So not a little bit higher rate of return, not much, but a little bit higher, but a much lower standard deviation, 1.8. The Japanese inflation rate, which I'll share with you in just a second. And here we ran out of money 100% of the time. Well, it's obvious because we're dipped into the principal here. This is what's happening. Remember, Standard deviation also means you have potential for huge upsides too. Just keep that in mind. And here is no the downside risk is minimized, but also the upside risk is minimized. So upside growth. So here we're just literally pulling out a principal. So we're going to run out of money inherently within 20 years, basically 22 years or so. In fact, but that's for 30 years. So, but if we put 20 years, we probably have some. Look at that. So if we do 20 years, we only ran out of money 2% of the time because we're just dipping in our principal, right? And this is adjusted for inflation. And so what's the inflation rates? Well, let's go to Japanese inflation from 1999, right? 1990, 3.0. That's 121. So we're going to come down here. Hold on just a second. 121. That's what that was. No. 0.44 is the average inflation. Wait, what was it? What's going on here? What happened? I screwed up here. Hold on a second. Equals average. It's one. I thought it was 1. 2. Yeah, I want to change that. I want to change. 0.44 was the average inflation. And we're going to go here, standard, here, and say, let's say 151. The average standard deviation is 1.12. Let me just make sure I got that. 121. So 0.44 is the average inflation in Japan going back to 1990. Standard deviation is 1.12. So we're going to come back here. So now we know what the, we'll just go point we're going to add. We're going to, 1 second, right there. 0.44 is what did I say, 1.12. 1.12. So now we got 5,000 a year coming out of our portfolio. We're averaging 1.9% with a standard deviation 1.8, with an inflation rate of 0.44 and a standard deviation 1.12. We're going to live for 20 years, and we're golden. We never ran out of money. Let's see if we. No, we're not golden. We ran out of money every time. Excuse me. Ran out of money every time. Now we go to 30. I mean, I can't. Let's do 25 right there. It's got to be the same thing. Yeah, same thing. So that's pretty extreme. All right. So you see the extreme of the Nikkei with significant downside risk and not much upside versus the inflation rate being 0.44, the standard deviation being 1.2, with a low rate of return 1.9. You see, so both those sides are pretty scary. So what I want to do now is I want to go to, and again, that's Japan. We're not Japan, I grant you. But what we want to do here is going to look at, I want to go to the Ginnie Mae. Yeah, see, that's more like it. This is what I'm hoping for right here. You're going back to 1990, because if you go back to 1980, you're going to have much higher rates of return because the interest rates were so high back then. So we don't want that. We want to go back to 1990. Actually, what I really want to go back to is 2000 when the interest rates started being lower. Yeah, here, this is perfect. All right, so here's a Ginnie Mae 4.47. Now you're not going to get that now. I'm just saying, I'm just using that for an example. And so we're going to use average rate of return. We're going to say 4.47. And a standard deviation, we're going to say 3.5. Right. And you can get this on CDs right now, by the way. Now, will you get it for the rest? And again, this does not include 2022. So it's going to be worth, let's just do 4% here. All right. So the question is, if we last for 25 years, we're getting 4% rate of return. We're going to use we'll use inflation rate from 2000. Right there. All right, can we take 5,000 a year off for 25 years, running at basically 4.5 average rate of return 4, because we're including last year's, with a standard deviation of 3.5. What happened here? Why is it saying 0? Try a year before 1996. Okay. All right. A year before 1996. Did Daniel just type that in? Hope so. Try 1995. There we go. Yeah, so here we ran out of money 67% of the time. But that's for 25 years. And that's not good, man. That's not good. We're like, oh boy, that's 5,000 a year. What if we made it 4,000 a year? Let's watch the difference. Oh, interesting. What if we made it 4,500 a year? Now these are all what ifs. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Now, that looks pretty good. Now that looks pretty good. Now if we go to Daniel's bucket strategy, which I'm going to share with you now. Again, it's 55e.co. I'll show you it. So here's the bucket strategy. All right, so what we're going to do here, can you all see that? Yeah, sweet. Is we're going to do, so what we're going to do here, I haven't done this for a while, so bear with me just a second. We're going to start with 10% a year. We're going to drop it down 20 basis points each year, if that makes sense. All right, so we got $100,000 in there. We're going to use a Ginnie Mae fund, because the Ginnie Mae, again, is lower rates of return. Right there. That looks good. And we're going to start in 1990 or 2000. Right there. All right. I hope this makes sense. So what we're doing is we're saying, let me just say what I'm doing. We're going to basically we're going to start at a high initial withdrawal, 10%, and we're dropping it down each and every year at 20 basis points, 0.2%, if that makes sense. It's what I call reverse RMDs, because RMDs, can I sing today? Jesus don't like killing, no matter what the killing's for, because your flag decal won't get you into heaven anymore. That's my singing. So we're going to take, so basically we're taking 10% here, and then 5 years will be 9%, and 5 years will be 8%, and so on and so on. I think that's a great strategy, man. It's been a while since I've done any grunt work on that to see what it looks like, but I love that strategy. Yeah. Here's my man Jeremy. Matthew 7:22. Was it Matthew who's written the Old Hebrew? I think it was. Matthew written the Paleo Hebrew. Will say, I can't see what it says. Will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? In thy name have cast out all devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works, and thy will, and it stops there. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff, Jeremy. All right, so what we're doing here is it's okay. We're gonna take out more in the front end and take out less as we age. It's your freaking spending. It's your spending. It's not the returns, dudes. It's your, so let's go back. It's your spending. That's what I was just saying the other day of the video I did earlier today. And I probably hurt my numbers because I added a video after that, right after that. Usually, if I want to get a bigger YouTube presence, I just need to be more disciplined in my videos. I'm just not disciplined. I just throw them up there when I want to do them. It's nuts. Like Tim Pool would do a 10, a 2, a 4, something like that. I can't remember. But he would do like, have these, this. And I'm like, nah, when I see an article, I thought I'm doing a video on it. And what happens is it takes away the momentum you've built in the previous video you did, if that makes sense. It frustrates me. Not gonna lie. I'm like, oh man, I should, because I just did a video on Marjorie Taylor Greene or Green Taylor, whatever her name is, crushing down here in Georgia and made the ATF agents flee as the crooks that they are, trying to harass a legitimate gun business down here in Smyrna. And I posted like an hour after I posted this other video about showing these people I want to tell you about. So their issue is they have less than $500,000. House is worth $300,000, if even that, maybe $250,000. They live in Ohio, and they're probably up your way, Andrew. And hey, long story short, they're freaking crushing. Why? Because they got no debt, don't spend very much. You know what I'm saying? They're comfortable. They got 3 kids, freaking boatload of grandkids run around, all within 15-mile radius or something like that, a little bit more. But they're content. It's contentment, man. So they don't. We're sitting there thinking this guy's, he's going to roll over his money like $250,000, biggest portion. And what do? I said, man, just lock up some CDs. We only giving you 4.5% rate of return. You're freaking crushing. You're not coming anywhere near run out of money, and then you're leaving your kids like $800,000 in today's numbers. Just freaking, why take any risk? Doesn't make sense. And people in here will get mad and say, "Oh, you got to take risk." Like, why? Well, because it's what we've always done. Again, going back, if you're Jeremy, you're 35. Yeah, you need to have some aggressive stuff, 100%. And probably the bulk should be. I don't deny that. But if you're sitting on the cash cow of retirement, you're like, okay, I got Social Security, I got a small pension for my wife. It's like $500 a month or something like that. I said, I don't spend that much. House is paid for. If I get $400,000 or $500,000, I can put in CDs, getting 4% a year. That's $20,000 a year interest without even touching the principal. That's a good life. That's a good life. It's not the rate of return that drives it. It's the spending. And it's just like, man, I got debt too, Sean. Don't tell. I mean, I'm with her, baby. And I sit there and I'm like, because if I did not have debt, I literally, man, if I did not have debt, I would not need to. I could do whatever I want on YouTube to obviously what YouTube wants me to say. But I know that if I get too crazy, I will offend people who might otherwise, like my videos and want to hire me and all that stuff. And I buy my books. If I get too crazy, I know that won't happen. And as such, I got to be careful what I say because I don't want to piss off too many people. But again, with Robert Coleman, the Master Plan of Evangelicism, and there's other books that just show you this, the few, the proud, the Marines. They're not proud. They're proud now, the Marines. They're part of the Navy. They're very proud. They're very happy. They're very crooked, if you know what I'm saying. So here's straight, here's crooked. You know what I mean, Marines out there. The few, the proud. We're here. We're proud. We're in your face. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, so let's go back to the bucket thing. So I'm trying to get, my man up there, I forgot who said it, but he says he used a 3% rate of return. Yeah, right here. Look at Annette, dude. Annette's freaking crushing. Look at Annette. Being debt-free, house and all is the only best thing we managed. Is the only best thing. That doesn't make any sense. The only best thing? Yeah, 100%. Look at this guy or lady, Kay. That cute little. Why don't we go to Antarctica? Because we don't want to disturb the penguins. Huh? That's literally why we don't go to Antarctica, because we don't want to disturb the penguins. That's weird. Look at that thing. Yep, 100%. But see, here's the issue though. Everyone's going to say, but inflation. This is what drives me flipping crazy. There's two things going on here. Oh my goodness, it drives me so batty. No one is sitting there saying the cost of your food and electricity won't go up. No one is saying that. What we are saying is, if we look at the data, the pure data, even while the cost of your foods and stuff is going up, the other stuff you spend is going to go down because you just don't spend as much. Now, one guy asked me a good question. I forgot who it was, but he's on here quite a bit. And he asked a good question. He goes, well, what if I'm, what the hell was that? I think it was Dougie B. Fresh. Spark. These bubblies are BOGOs at Publix right now. They're pretty good, man. If you're trying to get off aspartame and just, but you still like the carbonated drinks, these are good. You get used to it, man. You get used to it. It's kind of like you get used to decaf. I don't drink any caffeine anymore. I'm really getting off of, I don't drink any sugar stuff. That's nasty now, but I'm trying to get off the aspartame, and these sparkling waters are pretty good. Some guys say carbonation is bad for you. We'll cross that bridge later right now, but I like the car. One thing about being a drinker is the sound of a can opening, of a beer can or a twist off on a bottle and pouring it into a pint glass. Dude, it's like, probably shouldn't say this, but they have studies on back in the old days with when pornography first came around on the internet, and you'd hear the thing on you log into not your laptop, your phone, the modem, and what would happen in the dopamine if you're an addict to pornography, the dopamine of hearing the the wires and stuff connecting to the thing. It just the excitement was so building in your head that this is what the addicts, every addict has something like this. Like there's a guy who used to sing for a band called Blood for Blood, and who I like a lot actually. White Trash Rob up in Maine, up in where the hell is he? Up in Boston, someplace, Newburyport, something like that. I'm not sure I haven't seen anything he's done for over a year, but he used to talk about like the Dunkin' Donuts Dunkin' Donuts bathrooms would be like stimulant for his heroin addiction. You know what I'm saying? The Dunkin' Donuts bathrooms, because he got so used to going to a Dunkin' Donuts bathroom and shooting up. Like when he sees a Dunkin' Donuts bathroom, it's like, oh, it's kind of like, when I hear a pint pouring into a beer pouring into a cup. Mighty Mighty Boston was actually freaking rat things, not their fault, but I had quit drinking in 92 and 93. And I came across Mighty Mighty Boston's, their album, Where'd They Go, or Where'd She Go? Where'd She Go? It was a song, I forgot what album that was. Where'd She Go? I poured a glass into a cup. I can't remember. I remember this like I remember it like it was yesterday. I was working part time at UPS, and I heard that song, and I said, "Man, I could go." I think I just got back from work. It was late. And, UPS loading up trucks in Springfield, Virginia at night. It's freaking tough, dude. You know what I'm saying? You're spreading it just sucked. I quit drinking. I remember I heard that song. I said, pour a glass into a cup, sat down on the couch, drank it slow, wondering where did she, I can't remember. And it did something in my head, dude. It made me say, man, I got to get a beer. I remember went to 7-Eleven and got a 6-pack of beer, and I poured the glass or poured the cup or whatever it was. It's crazy. And same thing like porn addicts, like they say, if you're addicted, you hear that the sound of the modems and all that stuff. I imagine the same thing on the phone now. If you're, the heroin, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? There's something that I'm not sure why. Oh, so you gotta be. So that's for me. It's like I needed something. I quit drinking to replace the carbonation of the beer. You see what I'm saying? So I never liked Coke that much, but I did like bubbly stuff, man, because it gives you the sense of drinking. And that's why I chew a lot of gum, because when you quit smoking, I haven't smoked in a long time, but when you quit smoking, you need the replacement to take a deep breath. It just there's something that happens in your mind that makes you like, stimulate for wanting that addict thing. Anyway, so for me, it's the carbonation of this. I like it. Now, again, if that's bad or not, we'll have to cross that bridge later. But right now, to kick aspartame, this works good. It's bubbly. So if you're in Florida, you don't get BOGOs. You got to buy 2 to get 1 free. If you're in Georgia, you can buy 1 and get half price, which is pretty cool. Lipton green tea citrus made with pure. Mix as light as you want. Oh. Lipton green tea citrus made with pure cane. Mix as light as you want. $6 per 47 ounces. Canned powder at Walmart. Mix. See, the problem with that is I know. Dude, you kidding me? Is he dead? Did he die? I know it's overdose, but is he? Damn, Andrew. Yeah, I like the Spindrift stuff. They were on when they were on BOGOs. I buy them. Oh, that's sad, dude. Kills me, man. Jeez. Yeah, a guy used to work. My roommate's brother. He man, he had a smoking hot wife, a couple kids, and a good drummer too. But he's an addict, and but he was going sober, and for some reason, this is my roommate, and me and my roommate, both my roommates and I, all worked in this bar, and this guy's name was Jeff, and somehow, and the guy, my boss was a recovering alcoholic, and long story short, my boss said, I can't remember, but he said, I'm going to give this guy Jeff a chance to straighten up. He's recovering. We're going to let him work in the bar because he was a recovering narc addict. Well, narcotics always starts with alcohol for sure. And anyway, it was weird. Like now, is my roommate Joe worked at the bar as well, and Joe was his younger brother But we thought, I guess the guy thought that if he saw Joe, crushing without alcohol, that Joe might be a good guide for Jeff and not. Anyway, long story short, it didn't last long. He got into drinking, and it got pretty ugly. I mean, he's a funny guy, man. He came up with the term "snotty dripping" instead of Scotty Pippen. Snotty dripping. That was funny. Oh my god! John Elway takes up the smellway. It's funny as hell. And he's just a funny guy. This guy was great and good drummer. He was the life of the party, man. No other way around it. And anyway, I'll never forget this. I was managing the bar, and on Thanksgiving night, we used to make money on Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, you make money. And he was supposed to be one of my bartenders, and it was busy, and he didn't show up. I remember, so we had this little notepad of who's supposed to show up and where they're supposed to. And I was like, and I remember I was pissed because I had to, basically take over for him. He was freaking busy, dude. I was like, damn. And I remember I said, so I crossed him out. I said, I said I was going to fire him. I remember I told my roommate who was working there too. I said, dude, what the hell, man? Well, the reason he didn't show up is because he was dead. He had OD'd, and he was laying up. So my roommate went to check on him later after that shift. Saw him back against the refrigerator. All the stuff they put in your arm, the freaking thing, they do all that. And rigor mortis has set in, and just friggin' sucks, dude. He could not kick the habit, man. Could not kick the habit. And he's dead. You know what I'm saying? This is a long time ago, 1992, 4, something like that. So that's 20 years ago. No, that's 30 years ago. It's a long time. Couldn't break the habit. And obviously working a bar wasn't the way to go. But man, those I worry about my kids all the time. I'm getting addicted, man. I worry about my kids all the time. Because we're Irish, for heaven's sake. So we got lots of drunken Irish, both my wife's and my side, you know what I'm saying? And then it's carried on from my dad down to me, you know what I'm saying? And so thankfully, none of my kids have ever seen me partake in any kind of alcohol or cigarettes or anything like that. That's a fact. But yeah, it's freaking dude, it's zombie land. It's literally zombie land. And all these scumbags, and I tell you what, Andrew, the freaking scumbags, like, they deserve it. They do it. They don't know. Oh boy. Pablo wants to show his stuff. Pablo, no one wants to see that. No one wants to see that. Oh boy. So Pablo's like, everybody look at my butt. I heard you talk about. Anyway, no one. These people, they're zombies. They deserve it. I'm just like, man, you freaking scumbags. And what I hate too, 100%, man, 100%. They're by the grace of God. These people act like it's only if you're a zombie, like you've always been a zombie, or you're only white trash, or you're only poor black or something like that. No, lots of upper middle class people are freaking zombies, and they're truly zombies because they will literally do anything for their fix, dude. Literally, like we think about zombies eating your brains, they will literally do that for a fix. It's just horrible, man. That sucks, Andrew. Anyway, how do you move on from that? All right, so let's keep rolling. We'll go back to the bucket strategy and show you guys what we came up with. Yeah, right on. Oh, and I'm 100% in favor of legalizing all drugs, just FYI, because of this. The war on drugs, the only way you're going to win is if you go after the upper middle class users. The Hunter Bidens of the world is a perfect example. Until you imprison the Hunter Bidens of the world, you're never going to stop the drugs. You got to stop the demand. You're never going to stop the supply. And because you're never going to stop the supply will always be there. And lots of innocent people, mostly in the urban areas, are getting killed because they want to be the next king. And the reason is because you got all these rich scumbags, Hunter Biden of the world, who'd have no recourse for his actions. So if we're serious about the war on drugs, you go after the user. You don't go after the freaking seller. It infuriates me so much The seller is just providing a good that the user wants. And you can say that's evil, or I don't care. We have not won this war on drugs. There'll never be one until we imprison people like Hunter Biden and anyone like that. I'm sorry. Kind of like DUI. You can't have a second chance at DUI. If you want to get rid of drunk driving, you say, look, you get behind the wheel drunk, you're freaking going to jail for 5 years as a involuntary manslaughter or attempted murder. I don't care what it is. It's no different than firing a firearm into the middle of a freaking crowd of kids. I didn't mean to kill anybody. Well, you fired a firearm in a crowd of kids. What do you think was going to happen? Well, I didn't mean to kill him. Well, you got behind the wheel drunk. It's so fake. All this stuff is fake, man. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, we got to do the war on drugs, the war on guns, the war on DUIs. Like, well, you never do anything about it. And I don't want to live in a society like that either, by the way, where you're saying, oh, my goodness, we're going to, take away your firearms, your ability. I don't want to live in a society like that. But if we're not going to do it legitimately and recognize there's going to be risks and recognize that this war on drugs is an absolute failure, it's a fraud. All it is making lots of corrupt sheriff's departments rich with eminent domain and stuff like that. It's crazy. No, but why? See, why? Why would it be death penalty for smuggling? Why not death penalty for using? See, that's what I don't get. The reason they're smuggling is because there's a user. Yeah. My dork is. Well, if it's a war, then you got to treat the freaking users, man. I mean, if it's a war against the commies, and we got lots of commies in the United States selling secrets to Commie-ville, you got to go after the commies that are here. It's just that simple. I don't get this. Exactly. Everyone's addict with someone's little baby. 100%, man. 100%. Sad. But this is the issue. We want to go after the supply, and the supply will never stop. It will never stop, man. It's always a demand. Always a demand. All right, so let's go back to this. And I tell you, thank the good Lord. When I smoked some dope when I was younger, I didn't like it at all. It made me paranoid as hell. Thank God. All right, so we're sitting here thinking, what happened to, let's see what we got here. Starting amount overtaken, year out, bucket year, start year. Okay, looks good. I haven't used this for a while, so I'm not sure if I'm doing it right. Bucket two. We don't have a bucket two. It doesn't seem like it's working here for some reason. Any balanced bucket. Yeah, I'm not sure. Why is it not working? What am I doing wrong here? Let's change this loop year to 2021. Anything? No. What am I doing? Following the specific. Huh. Doing something wrong, but I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. What am I doing wrong? Start year 2021. I don't know. Anyway, so that's what am I doing wrong there? We'll start in 1990. All right, so I haven't done this. I haven't used this for a while, so I'm doing something wrong. Let's just go back to fixed. See if that works. Yeah, I'm doing something wrong with these numbers down here. I know he's got. I know the returns are listed. Here. I'm not sure what's going on here. All right. Anyway, so all right, let's go back to the. I have to come back to that. All right, so let's go back to the Monte Carlos here. So basically, again, the point is that if let's say if we can get, let's do it. So what I'm going to do is we're going to create our own rate of return right here, 4% with an 8% standard deviation. All right, we're going to start in 1995, and we're running out of money 46% of the time. All right, so if we had 5,000 a year, You got to put a negative sign here. You're running out of money 65% of the time. If you have 4,000 a year, you're running out of money 25% of the time. If you have 4,500, you're running out of money 42% of the time. So if we change our downward standard deviation to 6, look at that, changes a little bit. Changes a little bit. Isn't that interesting? And again, we're using inflation from 1995. We can adjust inflation whatever we want. We can say, look, we're going to use an inflation rate of, I don't know, the average historical, we'll say 2.5 inflation with a 4% standard deviation. We do whatever we want. Whoa, what happened there? Average return, inflation rate 2.5%. There we go. Hey, you look at that, man. So if an average rate of return of 4% with a 6% standard deviation, we got an inflation rate of 2.5 with a standard deviation inflation of 4%. We're taking 4.5% a year out. 60% of the time, we still have money. Now, again, if we want to increase our rates of return to say, 6, which I get nervous doing that, man. 8, do whatever we want. But where I'm going is it all comes back to, now we only have a 13% probability of running out of money, or 87% probability of success. If we increase our standard deviation from, we'll say a 5% rate of return with a 10% standard deviation, 67% of the time we'd have success. That's $4,500 a year. I just think the point being is that if we're looking at lower rates of return, which I think you should be, well, you can strive all day you want to get higher rates of return, but there's two things that are competing. One is your expenditures. The one is the anyone know a 10-year-old we can call and get help with a computer? Yeah, I don't know, man. It's weird. I wasn't sure why that was working. The bucket. I'm doing something wrong, man. Oh, do I got to put something there maybe? Hold on a second. Yeah, it's still not working. I'll have to come back and figure it out. I haven't looked at that spreadsheet for a while. I need to because I very much enjoy it. So I guess what I just wrapped this up. What I'm trying to say is, what if instead of, for me, is instead of trying to get the max return, I'm trying to get the least expenses. And the way to do that is by reducing your expenditures. Now, again, as I think it was Dougie B, he said, but Josh, my expenditures are already low. And in that case, right, if they're already low, let's just say he's spending $3,000 a month, $1,000 a month for healthcare, and I don't know, $1,000 a month for other things, incidentals. So he's spending $5,000 a month. That's $60,000 a year. Let's just say he's using that, and we'll just say, he's got $60,000 a year of expenditures, and just for simplicity, we'll say his Social Security is only $40,000 a year. So he's got a deficit of $20,000 a year, right? So Social Security is $40,000. His expenditure is $60,000. He's got a deficit of $20,000. If we take our trusty calculator, we take that $20,000 divide by 0.05. He needs $400,000 to make that last, to fill those, to fill the gap between this and that. If that makes sense. Well, that's no big deal. I mean, I don't have $400,000, and on top of everything else I got going on. But if you don't have $400,000, does that mean your goose is cooked? No, it just means that So basically, his argument is there's no spending reductions in the future for me. Well, you better buy an investment that keeps up with inflation and taxes then. So what would investment that would be? Oh, amazing. Certificates of deposit. Certificates of deposit keep up with inflation and taxes. Everyone says no, they don't. Yes, they do. And we know that because if we look at the Fed funds rate, we see the bank accounts basically lag a little bit behind Fed funds rate, but they're basically right there. We look at CDs, they keep up with, but any given year, inflation is high relative to your CD rates. Yep. Also, in any given year, inflation is low relative to your CD rates. Exactly. But they wash. They come out in the wash. Just look at the history of CD rates relative to inflation. It's almost identical, man. It's crazy. Got to pay tax on your interest. Yeah, but if you're in a $60,000 income, you're not paying any taxes anyway, man. You're just not. See what I'm saying? That's why the video I did earlier today is so important to understand. You're not paying tax, dude. If you're only making $60,000 a year, your tax return is nil. It's nil. So I mean, it's the same thing. So I'm not striving anymore for maximizing my returns. I'm striving to be a better steward of God's money. If that means I don't have max returns, I'm okay with that. If that's what God chooses. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. And frankly, I still even wonder if I even want to be involved in anything to do with Wall Street, to be honest with you. I'm only 52. I still like dividends, not going to lie to you. And I think we can help turn the tide a little bit by consolidating our forces in a couple firms, Ave Maria, Timothy Plan, Aspire, these biblical responsible investments that say, no, man, look, we don't have the money that Buffett does or Jeff Bezos or Soros, these clowns. We never will. We don't need that kind of money because we're not evil. But we have enough money to be 3%, the 3% to make it hurt us. Hey, if you do this, you're going to offend a lot of your shareholders. Do you really want to have trans library hour for freaking 5-year-olds? Do you really want to do that, Disney? Do you really? Yeah, 100%. Exactly 100%, man. Yeah, there's a way to figure it out, man. I'll Blaine, what's your address? What's your address, Blaine? I'm goofing. Don't put it in there. I'm just goofing you. Oh my goodness. I got to work on it a little bit. It's actually I make it harder than Daniel makes it. Because I haven't used it so long, it might be updated. I might need to refresh it. I don't know. Actually, let me just try that real quick. It's a great tool, though. It's a great tool. All right. So I got, man. Right here. Look at my man Tom Murphy. And you know Tom Murphy's a drunken Irishman. You can't get much more drunken Irish than that. My way to sleep, move to guaranteed fixed rates of return, like you're saying. Yeah. So again, I always want to point out there's two different people. We got the retirees or soon to be, and we got us grunts who are still plugging away. All right. We got two different people here. Now, Charles Schwab said, when asked about what is his prediction about the stock market, he said it'll go up and down, which is good. He goes, well, I just retired. Should I even own stocks? He goes, well, you're still a long-term investor. You still got 30 years ahead of you. I tend to agree with that. I do. But I got no qualm with that. But that doesn't mean you still go full throttle in stocks. And as I said many times, I'd be heavy on the bonds at this stage. But that's not what you said 2 years ago. I'm stunned how many people can't change. I'm like, dude. 2 years ago, the bond market wasn't rewarding us for cash, dude. It wasn't there. Now it is. Why would you not take advantage of that? It's nuts to me. Anyway, so these two are two different people. I would suggest, generally speaking, the retiree is probably 35, 65. And 65 can be inclusive of CDs and bonds. And the grunt is 65, 35. That's what I would suggest right there. And this is why I love Wellington, why I owned it for so many years. But I got out of it because I don't want to be a part of that crap. And this is why I love Wellesley. It's so simple, but I'm not recommended anymore. And you can stay in there. I don't think it's going to go bad. It's not like I'm not sitting there saying, and people, you're like, oh, you think it's going to, no, I don't think it's going to go bad. I just don't want to be part of it. I don't want to be a part of voting with my feet that's acceptable to engage in Marxist behavior. And that's all there is to it, man. Marxist behavior is evil. Yes, I do, Blaine. I need your social security. Yes, on this internet too, by the way. And we definitely need your mother's maiden name and social security and your logon ID too, so I can log on to your backyard. And on Google Maps, I'll say, "Oh, there's Blaine. I see those mason jars full of silver eagles." But I don't. Yeah, my man Prairie Mark. All right, I was already busting on you a little bit there. 69 years old. My coffee group. We lost 3 or 4 guys in the 90s recently, a couple in their 80s. I feel I need enough money to last my late 80s. Yep, and you can get your late 80s by just matching the rate of inflation, which is with conservative investments. But you need growth. Why? And I'm not saying, look, if you're gonna CDs are in money market. Oh, 100%. I 100. That's why we got to look at credit unions and stuff like that too. I'm looking for this old Glory Bank, seeing what they do. Dude, our they'll evolve when enough people stand up and say no. You know what I'm saying? See, this is the issue. This is the issue right here, John. Gen X, is that people like. No more comments on Rumble. Is that people basically say, "Well, there's nothing we can do about it. I'm just gonna go on and get on." I'm like, this is why we got where we are. Yeah, right here. Look at Prairie Mark. Did you hear me bust your balls earlier, Prairie? When you say, "But Josh," when I was talking to that guy the other night, you're like, "Just because you read a book," I'm just busting your balls here, dude. But just because you read a book, you don't know more than the people that dedicated their careers. And I'm like, Prairie Mark, I'm reading the books that these guys have written who have dedicated their lives and their careers to their science. They just disagree with Einstein. But you're like, no, just because you have it in a book. I'm like, oh my goodness. Oh, so frustrating. Because we talk about the consensus. The National Science Teachers Association is saying we want to ban anything that doesn't preach the consensus of science. And that's freaking scary. Scary. Hey, look at my man Rusty Winch. We call him the Rusty Winch. Oh, he looks like he'd get mad at me though. So maybe I'll call him not the Rusty Wrench. I'll call him the Rusty. I'll call him the Golden Wrench because I want him. He looks like he'd freaking smoke me. It's like, Scanlon, let's meet outside. I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna stay inside. I don't think I'm going outside there, Rusty. I think I'm pretty content right here. Mm-hmm. Right on. But too, it's good that you announce yourself. That's always critical, man. What else we got? Make a budget, stick to it, says Kim, 100%. I think you need to have money. And yeah, you're probably right, Rick. I gotta go revisit that. I've been meaning to. Well, I just opened it. Let me just try one other thing here. Oh, it worked! Yay! Oh wait. All right, sweet. Well, hold on a second. Rusty Wentz says, "You're right. I'm coming after you, Scanlon. Look at him. He's giving me the thumbs up. We know that's a white supremacist symbol. Why do we know that? Because we're just saying that, and if we say it enough, people think it's true." I already said that. Richard. Where were you? We already said that at the beginning of this video. Are you late? Did you show up late, Richard? Is that what's going on? Did you miss what we already said? How dare you? Tax implication of CD is pretty simple. It's just ordinary income on your interest. That's it. Ordinary income. So in the case of Growly McGee here, if old Growls had some ordinary interest on his CDs, remember, you still get standard deduction in 2026 of personal exemption as well. So just because you have ordinary income for which you got to declare taxes, doesn't mean you have to pay tax. Because again, if your ordinary income is below your standard deductions, personal exemption, it's still tax free. Yeah, exactly right. On Right Capital and that, you can adjust it down to whatever you want. The target you can't. I've emailed them a couple of times asking if we could allow that to be adjusted. They don't do it. So speaking of which, though, Daniel Colbert again. So let me show you his. He has a way around that. I'm not sure if it works anymore, but let's look at old Daniel's YouTube video. He has a way you used to be able to do it. It seems like you might not be able to do that anymore. Daniel Colbert's. So we're going to go to his video here. And it's going to be, hey, how dare he put me up there? Look, that's probably 5 pounds lighter, a little bit younger. Looking handsome there, big guy. What happened? Right here. This one right here, Annette. Right Capital enabled target allocation booklet. Yeah, this yeah.
I'm going to go over how to create a bookmarklet. First, I'm going to grab the code from this message.
This was a pain in the ass, not going to lie to you. It works. Woo! It was a pain in the ass. I was like, dude, what I mean, I'm not dumb, but I'm not all, I'm just a caveman. But man, dude, that was hard. But it got it, and so it worked. And I don't know if it still does or not. Let's see if he has any more. Latest version can be found here, he says. All right, cool. Let's look at this latest version. There we go. It's him playing guitar too. Actually, I don't know if that'd be true, but
hopefully this will be the last.
Daniel's a very quiet guy. Is that you on guitar, Dan? No, just some stock audio. How dare he? Right here. There are more recent updates you can find on the GitHub page in the video description. Oof. Thank you. Look at Daniel. He's crushing. New argument. Okay. Oh, this is a new update for enabling target allocation. Thank you, Daniel. Ia Fonts. I remember that guy. I remember Ia Fonts, I think. Some of these old guys on here, some of these have dropped away from the channel because they don't like me anymore. None of these guys ring a bell to me, though. There we go. Anyway, so this is, and you should subscribe to his stuff because he just freaking awesome. But that's how you do it, and that right there, you follow it. It was painful for your old buddy Josh, but it works. It works, and then you can do it on the other one too. As I go back, actually, let's go to his other video on how to get that running. Oh, yeah, look, man. Dude, I didn't know he was doing all this. Yeah, sweet. Oh, yeah. Right on, man. Right on, Daniel. So right here, right capital column total. Right here is another one right here. Just look at his right capital videos. And you're smarter than me, so you'll probably be able to get in 2 seconds flat. Your old buddy Josh, you need that 10-year-old too, man. I'm now using in right capital. Let me see. I can't remember anymore, Jill. Let me bring it up here real quick. We're going to go to sample, my sample person here. Y'all can't see this. Can you stop sharing just to make sure? Then no one can see anything. And there we go. Let's go to sample. Hold on just a second. Yeah, I heard that. That's freaking fantastic. That is fantastic. And remember, the target is not for you guys specifically. It's just to give you a gauge of what you could do. So we're gonna make sure you can. All right, good. We're gonna go to sample. Kevin sample. That's what we're gonna look at here. Kevin sample. And hold on just a second. We're gonna go to right here. All right. So we're going to show you Kevin's sample. And so you see these target allocations. So here's our current allocation. So he's getting 5.5% annual return with 11.7 standard deviation. If you go to conservative, 35.65 is 4.7 to 6.8. But you can go to preservation. You can go to all bonds. 4.1 right there, all bonds. I think I'm giving 3% for cash. Oh, wait, no, 6% stocks. Here's money market, 3% for cash, Joe. Now you can do this, and so you can't change this target allocation. I tried. It's just it's not happening. I mean, maybe at some point they'll allow us, but not. It's not happening. But what you can do instead, so just remember, money market is 3.1 with a 1.8% standard deviation. All stocks is 6% with a 17.3. So basically anything in between. And what you do is you go to retirement right here. And you go to scroll down. And you can change this right here. You can, all this stuff right here. So, you can do this. If you want to go to money market, and you can come up here. And you got to hit refresh. And I'm sure it's drop. Yeah, so you can do that. And you can change all stuff. You can change that. But the only way to do it in here is to go into your profile and change what you actually have. You see what I'm saying? So you change it in here. I hope that makes sense. But if you follow Daniel's thing, Right on. You got it, Sean. Yeah, I gotta get out of here too. If you follow Daniel's, you can learn how to change that on your own. Yeah, right on. My wife works mornings in a motel making beds. Works 2 p.m. 10:30 as janitor. School is full bed. As a spare time, she cleans house for 3 old men. I'm never out of coffee. Outstanding. Thanks. You got it, Ned. All right, I can get out of here myself, my friends. Good stuff. Appreciate y'all being here. Again, I'll be modeling any kind of portfolio, looking for lower rates of return. I wish I could say lower standard deviations. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think volatility is more, frankly. Generally speaking, the lower the rate of returns, the higher the volatility is going to be. Not all the time, because bonds aren't higher volatility necessarily, but for stocks, certainly. Lastly, the point of the whole anti-Wellington creed or screed or whatever it is, screech, is that I'm not sitting there thinking Wellington is going to underperform. I have no clue. I just, first of all, after it happened with Silicon Valley Bank, I think 100% tumbleweed. Normal is never returning. It's like the stocks for the long term. The long term never comes. I don't want anything to do with that crap, the CRT, DEI stuff. I don't want ESG. I don't want anything at all. I don't want my money in that. And frankly, I do worry that if you're focusing too much on that, then inherently you're not focusing on the content of the character of the people you're hiring. And you're looking at it through a political realm instead of maximizing shareholder value. That's the whole point about freaking being an investment manager, is to maximize shareholder value. How can you call yourself a fiduciary if you're not maximizing shareholder values your first and foremost priority? You're not. You're a freaking political Nazi. And I don't want anything to do with Nazis, dude. Hate them. Hate commies too. So this isn't that, like, people email like, oh, I'm like, dude, you can stay in Wellington. I'm not saying it's bad. Probably do fine. I don't know. But doesn't Silicon Valley Bank concern you at all? Well, it wasn't because they're woke crap. Okay, then stay in Wellington. I don't care. But that's what I hear, like Silicon Valley Bank. Well, that's not an example. I said, sure it is. The Federal Reserve chairman who was supposed to watch over there, they were woke. They didn't monitor that. On top of that, the freaking Silicon Valley Bank people themselves are woke. I mean, all the people investing, everyone's woke. Well, they made some bad bets. Okay. Someone should have been there to police that crap up. But they were too busy being woke. Will that happen in Wellington? I have no clue. I have no clue. Do I want to take the chance? No. And the icing on the cake is I don't want to commit my money to freaking evil. It's just that simple. I out the ball, 100%, man. And but people, I invested in Wellington because I'm down. Everything. I had a lady, I'm down 9%. Well, first, I don't make advice. You do whatever the hell you want to do with your money. I don't manage your money. But second of all, Wellington isn't the only thing that's down there, sister. Everything is down from 2022, for heaven's sake. I don't want to lock in the loss. Well, you're going to go from Wellington, which is down, to something else was down. Not really locking the loss there. So, anyway. That's my thoughts on that. Hope that helps. God bless. We'll see you guys. Don't forget, locals, subscribe to my locals channel, Friday at 4 p.m. I'm trying to get one of these guys on the live stream on the Saturday. It'll be kind of cool if Saturday night. I like Saturday night live streams. It's kind of fun. But I'm not sure I'll be able to do that this Saturday. So we'll see you guys on Friday. God bless. We'll see you.